Hey scientists, grab those lab coats and goggles as today we are going to look at how scientists study different insects to see how the world works. So this is going to give us a little bit more information on our insects and plants and the life cycles they go through. Let's get into our essential questions.
Now, let's talk about our essential question. Remember, essential questions in science and in different lessons can help us think about what we already know about a topic, and it helps us connect to new ideas that we're going to learn today to help us produce a new thought about the topic. Our essential questions will be focused on our different science topics. So look for keywords. In those keywords, the minute you see them and recognize them, I want you to think, what do I already know about this topic? Once you have that in your mind, you want to look at the question again to see what we're trying to answer today or what are we trying to answer about that topic. It's important to remember that an essential question is like a goal as well. By the end of our science lesson, you should confidently be able to answer the essential question. Let's go over our essential question for today.
Listen as I read the first essential question. What plants and animals are seen in different places? Read this one with me. What plants and animals are seen in different places? Nice job. Let's look at the second one. Listen to me first. How do different plants and animals survive in different areas? Read that one with me. How do different plants and animals survive in different areas? And our last one, what are the life cycle stages of different plants and animals? Read that one with me. What are the life cycle stages of different plants and animals? We'll look into all of these and more as we explore more into different insects and plants and how scientists study those to see and understand how our world works today. All right, for our first activity, we're going to do a little bit of a matching kind of review game. For this activity, you're going to need to pair up, but listen to the instruction first. One of you are going to describe a different environment that you see on the screen. You'll be looking at the screen. Your other partner will have their back turned to you and they will have to decide what type of animal would be successful in this environment. So the challenge is one student that is facing the screen is going to have to give detail about the environment. What's it like there? The temperature, the weather, different environmental factors that are going to impact animals that live there. And the other student is going to have to decide what type of animal would be successful based on these clarifications. After about a few seconds, your teacher can continue the video and it will switch to a new environment. Then you and your partner can switch. Environments. Let's take this to a new level and look at a type of animal, specifically a ladybug, in an interesting environment or one we wouldn't picture. We're going to read the article, The Scientist Who Played Rock Music for Ladybugs. While we read this article about Brandon Barton, we are going to write down our different observations or our summaries for each paragraph that we read. I will do the first one, and you guys will follow along with me, writing the summary that I write, and then you guys will continue on as a class, finishing the article. Let's look at this article together. Once again, it's called The Scientist Who Played Rock Music for Ladybugs. Let's scroll down. This is our first image here, and it has a caption. Let's read our caption. It says, Brandon Barton researches the environment. Here, Barton shows off the skull of a pronghorn deer from a bow hunting trip on October 1st, 2019. Let's continue to read our article and find more about Brandon Barton. Brandon Barton is a scientist at a university in Mississippi. He has done some strange experiments. For example, he has played music to insects. He has also dug around in wolf poop. Brandon studies ecosystem. An ecosystem is a community of life forms and their environment. Parts of ecosystems are connected. If one thing changes, it can affect many other things in the environment. Barton is interested in how one change in an ecosystem can cause other changes. Barton's ideas might seem goofy. Still, this kind of study is one way that scientists inspire new kinds of thinking around the world. Now we're going to set up a piece of paper like this. You're going to need to write the title of the article at the top, the scientist who played rock music for ladybugs, and then underneath it, write introduction. That's where we're going to write our summary for our introduction, and I'll help us with that. I put the bottom paragraphs that we've read so far on our screen so we can reference them here, and you can also look at the articles if you have one of your own in front of you. For our introduction, we had 3 different paragraphs. We want to try to pull something out of each of these paragraphs, or at least 3 facts, since there's 3 paragraphs, to write a summary about what we learned in the introduction. If we look at the first paragraph and we reread it, it gives us the introduction to our main character of the article, or the person that we're learning the most about, the scientist that is mentioned in our article. And his name is Brandon Barton. So I'm going to start off by talking about how our scientist, his name is Brandon Barton. Follow along writing this with me. For the first fact that I wanted to include in our summary, I wanted to mention the scientists that we're going to be talking about or reading about for the whole article. So I put scientist Brandon Barton does exciting experiments. I got that just from the first paragraph itself because it talked about him doing things involving playing music to insects and also digging around in wolf poop. Those are definitely some exciting experiments. So, to summarize that first paragraph up in one sentence, I gave the person's name that we learned and described a little bit about what we know that he does. Let's look at the next paragraph to see what we can add to this introduction summary. The next part goes on to talk about the part of science that Brandon studies, and he studies ecosystems. Now, I definitely want to include this in my summary, but I don't know what ecosystems are, or I might not remember, so I definitely want to include the definition that's given in the article here. Let's add that sentence to our writing now. In our next sentence for our summary, let's write Brandon studies ecosystems, which means he looks at the communities of life forms and their environments. Our final paragraph talks about Brandon's ideas, and they mention how he's a scientist that might inspire others around the world. However, it doesn't give us any specifics that I think are important to add to our introduction. We got good details and specifics from our first 2 paragraphs that allowed us to provide a good summary of the information we got from the introduction. You guys will continue on as a class to read this article. You'll continue to read the subheadings Strange Studies and Changing Insect Behavior Using Sound. As you read these, you will write a summary for each of them. Read the article all the way through and then go back picking each paragraph apart just like we did together now. Once you pick together each paragraph, you'll be able to find different facts that you think are important to include in your summary. Also, remember when writing your summary to put information into your own words. You don't want to copy the sentences exactly as you see them because that's copyright. We want to take the words and ideas from the article and put it into our own words. Act like you're describing this article to a friend who's absent today. Give them an idea about who this scientist is and some of the things he's doing. Good luck and enjoy reading more about Brandon and the kind of science he studies. Talk to you later, scientist.